So to get the starter going, I'm going to put in an eighth of a cup of whole wheat flour, and then get an eighth of a cup of water. And I just use tap water, and it's been working fine for me, but some people will say don't use tap water. So eighth cup, just get in there, stir it up. You can like get some of the stuff that's on the side and push it down. And then I just put a piece of saran wrap on it, poke a few holes in it, and put the lid on it. Put it in the fridge, and then it can stay in the fridge for probably a day, probably 2 days. I think is what I've been doing, about 2 days. And then I'll pull it out and feed it again, and I'll show you what in 2 days. It's been 2 days since I put that first eighth cup flour and eighth cup water. You can see there's no bubbles at all, and that's fine. There's actually a little bit of liquid on the top, but I've been doing this and it's been working, so let's hope it works for the video this time. So the second round, after your first 2 days, you just do another, and maybe I did a day, I can't remember. I don't think it'll matter. So another one of an eighth cup and an eighth cup of water. Mix it together, put it back in the fridge, wait another couple days, and we'll do a quarter cup. All right, it's been another 2 days, and not getting any bubbling action. Oh, the camera's not focusing good, but I don't know why it's not really, nothing's really bubbling. It's like it's dead. So one thing you can try doing if you don't see any action is just letting it sit out on the counter for a couple hours. But I don't have time to do that, so it already has 2/8 flour and 2/8 water, so that's a quarter cup of flour and a quarter cup of water, half a cup total. So we're gonna add more. So we're gonna do a quarter cup and a quarter cup and stir it up, and then see what it looks like tomorrow or the next day. All right, so I got this out. It's been like 3 days. I left it in the fridge way longer than I normally do. And it's still not, there's no bubbles at all. Like it's not rising. There's like, you can see a few bubbles, but nothing's happening. So I'm gonna let it sit out, and there's actually a black liquid, and that usually means it's starving. So I'm just gonna mix this up, and I'm gonna let it sit out on the counter, and it might take like 2 hours, it might take 4, it might take 5, but it should start raising. I think my very first one, when you have hardly anything in the jar, when it's just the scraps in the jar and you're just doing an eighth and an eighth, I think I usually let that sit out for like an hour or two and then put it in the fridge just to get it jump started. Or this always could mean that it's just the liquid and no bubbles just means that it's not doing well. It's not doing good. So another option is after like 4 or 5 or 6 hours that I let this sit out. If it's not raising, like if I can't tell, sometimes they'll put a rubber band around it. They'll put a rubber band around the jar right here, and then you can see that it's rising above the rubber band. So if I can't tell that it's rising, then I'm just going to do the other method where I dump half of it out and replace it by half. So right now I think there's a cup total in there. So if I dumped half of it out, it'd basically be starting at the last step. So I'd dump half of it out, and then I'd go a quarter cup flour, quarter cup water, let it raise again, see what happens. But as long as you get bubbles and it's raising good, then you can use it. But if it's not, then don't use it. It's not worth it. So I will try to come back and show you if it raised or not. Okay, so after 5 hours, it had done nothing. So I just left it sitting out overnight, and I'm glad it came back to life. So it rose, didn't quite double in size, but it did pretty good. But there's like that line at the bottom of liquid and then like no bubble flour mixture on the bottom. That's just because it's hungry. It's not getting enough food down there. So you could use this to just do your bread right away because this is a half cup and it calls for a half cup. But I found if I do a whole cup, then it rises faster. So if you want a slower rise, you could just do the half cup like the instructions say. But I'm going to go ahead and feed this one more time. So I'll put in I think a quarter cup of water. Or is this a cup? Oh yeah, this is a cup. I guess I'll feed it a half a cup and a half a cup of water. And it'll just be a lot of sourdough. I guess that's making my bread really big though. I don't know. There you go, that's it.